inside. Never thought I'd have so much pain. To the world it's sunny outside, but to me it seems like I'm in the rain. Just want to tell you all about the love of Jesus Christ, knowing that you'll turn your back on me and treat me cold as ice. I see so many clouds in the sky. The trouble is on the way, but no matter how loud I cry, you just turn around and say to me, I don't wanna hear your Jesus talk. Keep your fairy tales to yourself. Don't need you to tell me which way to walk. Go and spread your message to someone else. I can't make it on my own. Don't believe in Jesus, leave me alone. Tell you about Jesus every day, it is true, and it hurts that you don't listen because I love you. Lord, for this world I pray, they'd open up their eyes and see that they need to change their ways, and in your Son they should believe. I just want to tell you all about the love of Jesus Christ, knowing that you'll turn your back on me and treat me cold as ice. This world is on a moral decline. It's getting worse every day, and no matter how loud I cry, you just turn around and say to me, I don't wanna hear your Jesus talk. Keep your fairy tales to yourself. Don't need you to tell me which way to walk. Go and spread your message to someone else. I can't make it on my own. Don't believe in Jesus, leave me alone. Tell you about Jesus every day, it is true, and it hurts that you don't listen because I love you. I don't wanna hear your Jesus talk. Keep your fairy tales to yourself. Don't need you to tell me which way to walk. Go and spread your message to someone else. I can't make it on my own. Leave me alone. Tell you about Jesus every day, it is true, and it hurts that you don't listen because I love you. See, being a Christian is not a religion, it's a way of life. It's a renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2 says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Life's so crazy, oh, it's hard to stay focused, it's true. Games being played, so I gotta watch what people do. Smile in your face, though behind your back they trashing you. I can see the clues, so I gotta do what I gotta do. Cut out the negative and add some positivity. Got so much love to give, and now it's time that I receive. Moving on forward with the goals that I want to achieve. For Jesus Christ I live, and it's in Him that I believe. Born again, so my mind's renewed. I think differently and do the opposite of what the world would do. Won't conform to the ways of man, not like you. God's opened up my eyes so I can see food. Like lost sheep, Satan got you all confused. Following celebrities, believing in fake news. Morally your mindset is filled with worldly views. Time to choose salvation is what you might lose. Cut out the negative and add some positivity. Got so much love stand alone. My mind has been renewed, and most of you don't have a clue. Jesus is the truth, and I pray you will believe him too. Cut out the negative and add some positivity. Got so much love to give, and now it's time that I receive. Moving on forward toward the goal that I want to achieve. For Jesus Christ I live, and it's in him that I believe. Turn in your Bibles to 1 John 2:15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Yo, God commands us to stay unequally yoked with this world of criminals and unsavory folks, like sheep and goats, not of this world like Paul wrote. Can't wait to get out of this place, I can't cope. They shoot dope, smoke weed, and drink all day, blinded to how Satan makes them think that way. They deceive their lost souls, they soon will pay. Walk up to heaven's gates and get turned away. Cut out the negative and add some positivity. Got so much love to give, and now it's time that I receive. Moving on forward toward the goal that I want to achieve. For Jesus Christ I live, and it's in him that I believe. Cut out the negative and add some positivity. Got so much love to give, and now it's time that I receive. Moving on forward toward the goal that I want to achieve. For Jesus Christ I live, and it's in him that I believe.
All right, welcome everybody to our afternoon show. I have my friend Ninja here, aka Shawn. Hi, welcome.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you today?
Blessed as well. Feeling good. Ready to go.
Yeah, we're ready to go. We've got NPC meowing in the chat. We've got Joe Info and Bama. Hi, guys. And Doc Michael.
What's good?
And as people come in, we appreciate that you're here on your own time, because your time is your wealth. But hey, we're doing fun movie stuff today. And so don't forget to like and share. Even if you don't like it, you can share it with your enemies. But if you do like it, share it with your friends. Right, Ninja?
That's right. Share it with your enemies first.
if you don't, that's if you don't like it. Even if you do, though, you never
Even
know.
if you do like it. Yeah,
You
like it
never
or
know
not.
who you're gonna change or bring about to our side of the fence, or maybe just to the Lord is what we're really hoping for.
That's right.
We watched a movie called Spectral. I'm gonna go over the synopsis. It's not that long. I'm gonna read it out loud. I'm gonna try to remember to mute myself when you're talking, and then I'm gonna try to remember to unmute myself when I'm talking. So if anybody says, "Gee, Aaron, there's an echo," that means I need to mute myself. If my mouth is moving and nobody hears anything, then somebody's gonna need to tell me in the chat because Shawn Ninja can hear me even when you guys can't. So let me read the synopsis real quick, okay? Let's see. I'm gonna even pull it up for people to see. All right, everybody should be able to see this. You're gonna love this, guys. A DARPA researcher, Dr. Mark Klein. This is the movie Spectral, in case anybody missed that. It's called Spectral. It was made in 2016, and the actors are unknown. Don't know any of them. Who cares? DARPA researcher Dr. Mark Klein is flown to Moldova, where the U.S. military is currently deployed in the ongoing Moldovan war, as his expertise is required regarding a line of hyperspectral imaging goggles of his design, goggles that have been issued to troops there. After arriving at a U.S. military Air Force base on the outskirts of, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Chisinau, he meets with General Orland and CIA officer Fran Madison. He is shown footage captured by the troops' goggles of a mysterious, translucent, humanoid apparition that kills almost instantly. Knowing it is non-interference, Orland wants Klein's expert opinion before forwarding the findings and footage to his superiors. Conversely, Madison believes the sightings to be members of an insurgency wearing an advanced form of active camouflage and has orders from her superiors to retrieve a sample. So, kind of going to go back to us here and talk. Before I read, this might have some probably spoil. By the way, it probably will have spoilers. We want people to know we don't necessarily expect you guys to go and my mouth is moving and he hears me. Good. We don't want you to go see this movie necessarily. It's not. I don't think it's scary. I don't know. Did you find it scary?
No, not at all.
There's dogs barking on occasion, just as there's cats meowing on occasion.
My dog's in the background. I'm sorry, guys.
But anyway, what I was going to say is that what was I going to say? Now I lost my train of thought with the dog.
You were saying, you asked me if it was scary.
Right. No. We're not trying to get anybody to watch this. We just wanted to watch it and then kind of go over what we thought about it. But that's why we're kind of giving the spoilers. So there will be spoilers, but I just wanted to pause it because there was this whole introduction where they create or have these characters coming in and he's got these special goggles, like it was saying, and they can see these things. And I mean, what would you describe them as what they look like when you saw the movie?
Like energy beams, some type of energy, light beams.
Kind of look like ghosts maybe or something.
Yeah, kind of like ghosts.
Okay, let me go back to this thing here. To get a clearer shot of the anomalies and identify them, both Klein and Madison are sent into the field with a team of Delta Force operators. They had to throw that in there. Who are being sent to find a Utah team who went missing the day before. And what they're not saying, did I miss it? There was kind of like a war going on between Russia and America during this whole thing, and all of a sudden, all these people are getting killed. So they're trying to capture a better image of the apparition. So this guy Klein, he has a large version of a hyperspectral camera that he mounts onto an armored personnel carrier. He arrives at the location and discovering the whole Utah team has been killed, and they are ambushed by the apparitions, who, being impervious to small arms fire and explosive, inflict heavy casualties before the soldiers retreat. So coming back to us, the heavy casualties that it inflicts, why don't you tell people basically what it looks like it happens when it kills people?
It's like but when the spectral things kill people, but when I mean, like you talking about how the spectral things killing people. It was, yeah, it was like just going in. Yeah, it was like I don't know, I guess like going into them and like cutting them open, ripping them up.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just killing them, going right into them, hitting them, killing them.
Apologies, everybody. So now,
Mm-hmm. No. I mean, we remember we were talking a lot during that movie, so I didn't. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
oh my gosh, it didn't unmute me. Okay, I see what's going on. We might as well just start over. Oh my gosh, can we just start over?
Yeah, because now I know some answers too.
Because when I hit the button says I'm muted, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
unmuted on the sound. So this button has done me wrong, and I'm so sorry, guys.
Yeah, I gotta go shut that down real quick. So hold on
Okay.
a second.
Well, I'm gonna just try to save myself here. I'll explain to everybody. So what happened, you guys, is I have a button that I push, and it says mute, but it unmutes me when it says mute. So unfortunately, I apologize. I have actually been muting myself, thinking I'm unmuted, and then doing the opposite. So my apologies. Now that I understand it's backwards. So what I was trying to say is we've got this DARPA team. They go in with special goggles. There's apparitions. They're very ghost-like. They're very fast. They kill basically by hitting people and running through them, and the person just drops dead. They find one guy. He's still alive because he was found under a bathtub, a ceramic bathtub. He's the only living one of this unit that they find. And he says he was in there for hours, but the bathtub saved him. Then these people go on to find, and these people are like a scientist, and I don't remember what the female's role exactly is, but they're just with this group to try to catch these things because they don't know if it's people, like they don't know if it's somebody wearing what do they call cloaking armor or something
Right.
else. And so
Right.
this guy that's created this very fancy camera can somehow see these things, and then he figures out how to turn it into a light that instead of just seeing through a camera, he can actually light up like a spotlight, and he can see these apparitions wherever they are. Well, when they find these children in a building, what they are able to do is make contact, rendezvous, a setup, but they also find that the apparitions can't enter the building. And do you remember why they couldn't enter the building?
Because of the lead.
Close. It was iron. There was iron shavings.
Iron. Yeah, iron.
So there's a bunch of iron shavings all around the building, and these apparitions, when they'd walk up to it, it would like the iron shavings would almost grab onto their leg in a way, and it looked like it hurt them, and they couldn't walk through it, etc. And apparently there was a guy that knew that, who was somehow involved in all the beginnings of this, well, whatever these things are, because you don't know what they are. So anyway, the group decides they need to rendezvous and get rescued out of Moldova. They are chased by the apparitions, who are slowed by, because they make all these iron explosives. So they take all the iron shavings and they make these explosives, and they're able to shoot them through their guns and everything. And that does slow these apparitions down. But then, of course, they're ambushed by them. And then when the group comes in to protect them, there was something about one of the tanks that the apparition, when it hit it, whatever the metal it was made of, also it couldn't go through, so it could actually hit the tank and destroy it. Anyway, they ultimately find he creates this theory. Says Klein theorizes that the apparitions are likely man-made and are made of Bose-Einstein condensate, which explains their ability to move through walls, freeze people to death, and why they're halted by iron shavings and ceramic materials, hence their inability to enter the tanks. Oh, I guess the tanks are ceramic. So they work overnight and make all these weapons that would break down the condensate, and then the next morning they go to battle against these creations, and then they've got to go to the plant where they think they came from. So I'm going to stop there because simply because that kind of gets to the point of Am I muted again? Oh, geez Louise. I don't know what's going on.
You said all that and it was muted?
I don't know for how long. Anyway, when you were watching this and you were checking out these apparitions,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided to create all these iron shaving bombs. I think hopefully people heard that. They decide to go out for to battle with these things. They realize it's some kind of Einstein-Bose condensate, and they're going to now try to attack them. And they're going to the main place to find out what they are and if they are man-made created. And this kind of gets to a point where I asked you to get to a Bible verse. And do you remember which Bible verse that was?
I believe it was, can you hear me? All right, I believe it was something weird, my end. It was, oh, there it goes, okay. It was Revelation 6:9, I believe.
Revelation 9:6.
9:6.
And the reason that I had talked about that particular scripture, and I only thought of the one, was because what it says in Revelation 9:6 is the one where death will flee, and from man will cry out for death, and death will flee from him. But I can find it specifically and read it. So in Revelation 9:6, and in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the reason I brought that up is as we get through this movie, it's kind of interesting along the way. There's some character creation, but not all that much. You don't know about anybody's personal life. They don't create much of a storyline. It's not all that exciting. But what's very interesting is when they get there, they do find their man-made creations. And what would be your interpretation of kind of what they had created with these apparitions?
Oh, man. So when I first saw them, I was like, pretty much, it looked like it was like leftover body things, like I don't know how to describe it, but it looked like it was somebody that was there, a person that was there at one point.
Okay, so basically it was what NPC said, like a locust army. So what they had created was people, I think by choice, and it doesn't necessarily, it might say that in the synopsis, whether it was by choice or not, that this says human test subjects. They had their brains and central nervous systems removed and hooked up to a central machine, which creates a 3D replication in a condensate form. So they were uploaded basically like to a cloud, and their brains and their spinal columns and their whole central nervous system was still kept alive while they were no longer living in a body. They created a 3D condensate body for these people, and that's what was battling them. So it was like a super soldier. So what happened is these creatures got out, right? They escaped, and that's why they were able to start attacking. But it was like like what NPC says, like a legion or a locust army. And anyway,
Hold on one second. Let me just say, I thought you were referring to what was at the end of the movie, what we saw at the end. Not that part, but bad.
Well, that's kind of it. That's kind of at the end what they see, right?
Kind of, yeah.
That these people have got up.
Inside of those things you're talking about, right?
Right. So they found this what kind of like a factory that
Mm-hmm.
was doing the 3D replication of these human type things that were created from some condensate form, which is why they were kind of able to battle them. But then they also found their nervous system in their brains, and then they had a
Mm-hmm.
picture, like a picture ID of them, next to their old brain and nervous system, like, and they were uploaded to
Yeah.
it, and so they were acting out. So, the body that was created for them, they were able to move with, right? Don't you think that's kind of the feeling I
It
got?
was almost, it was like an avatar type thing.
Right, like an avatar. So, I was looking to see if this gives anything away, but this guy decides there's obviously some level of consciousness. He thinks that they're in pain, and he starts to unplug them, believing that he's given them peace. So that's something that's one of the reasons I brought up Revelation 9:6, because death will flee from men, and death will be begged for, men will beg for death, and death will flee from them. That's kind of what I see happening here scripturally in the book of Revelation. Possibly I've talked about that, like uploading your body or your brain to the cloud, and then now you can't ever escape unless somebody shuts it down, I guess, like this guy did. But this was even creepier because they kind of kept their nervous system alive. If you had anything to say about that.
No, I mean, you pretty much summed it up. That's what the Bible says, and people don't kind of understand what the Bible means when it says men will seek death and then will not find it. Well, you can just look at what they're doing with this thing, with the snake bite right now, and as far as technology goes on, how that's going to lead to something similar to that. How they want to it's the same plan that Satan had in the Garden of Eden. It's the same plan he's doing now. He's saying that people can become gods. So that's similar to what that movie was doing, as far as those creatures making them like become gods. So Satan's doing the same thing. He never changes his plans. He's just trying to make people be gods, and if you become a god, then you can't die. So it's transhumanism in a different way.
I've talked about this a little bit too in some of my videos where I'm talking about they want to create this eternal eternal life on earth, rather than doing it the way that Jesus has promised us, because they don't believe in the Bible and they don't believe in the New Testament and what Jesus says. And Jesus promises eternal life and our new bodies. And I think that's what they're trying to create, is a light body. Like you said, a light body. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, it was like it was because it was bright, so it was like a light type body, but it did have a ghostly essence to it. It looked like it was like fading at times too. So yeah, it looked like a light body to me.
Right. So it could be that they are trying to create what is called a light body. And I think one of the ways that they're going to be able to do that is they're going to put that third strand DNA ultimately. And if they put it in with ORME gold, ORME, that's monoatomic gold that can help you be light, that can help you be, like hydrogen or helium to float. And I don't know if and it's supposed to heal everything. It's supposed to give you more energy. It's supposed to elongate your life, the ORME stuff, if you can actually, but it doesn't come natural, even though people try to say it's natural. I don't think it's natural at all. But they're trying to say some guy found it in a field at some point and was able to spend millions to study. He was a farmer and he was able to spend millions of dollars to study it somehow. And I don't think that's really possible, because how does a farmer, maybe a farmer could have millions of dollars to suddenly study what he supposedly found naturally in his field called ORME, or monatomic gold. But anyway, gold, because of its conductivity, and if they laid down a third strand, that third strand would ultimately take over all your God-given DNA. And that's their goal, is to live eternally on earth and have the bodies we were promised after we die to the flesh. That's what I think. I mean, could I be wrong, or what do you think?
No, I think you're on point with that, and you also want to add in the hydrogel that they're talking about using in this thing, which regenerates bones and stuff like that. So, if somebody, have you heard of hydrogel that DARPA is working with?
No, explain that to me.
Yeah, hydrogel is some type of I don't know exactly how it works, but I know they're talking about putting it into the snake bite, and it's like a healing agent. It can heal muscle tissues and bones and stuff like that. So if something was to get cut off, it would regenerate it somehow. I don't know if it would, you do the whole cut off, but let's say somebody sliced your arm or something, or your heart is hurting, or your heart is hurt, or I don't know. So the hydrogel can somehow, I think it has something to do with nanotechnology as well, but it can somehow regenerate certain parts of the body. So that will help you stay alive, keep you, from dying, the same way we were talking about.
I think I found something. It says fiber reinforced gel MA hydrogel to induce the regeneration of a corneal stroma. That's probably just one particular thing that they're using some kind of hydrogel, but that's what you said, hydrogel, and that's what this says, for regeneration.
So imagine having that inside of you, along with the stuff you're talking about in there, along with, at that point in time, people are going to want to die because His wrath is going to be poured out on people. And they're going to want to die. They're going to have 100-pound hailstones falling on them. It's going to be fire and all kind of crazy stuff going on. And people are going to want to die. They can't take it anymore, but they can't die. So what's going to stop them from dying?
Well, what is going to... I don't know. Because according to this movie, the guy's going to be generous and unplug everybody. But I don't think it's going to be quite like that. I think that maybe... I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they're even going to get to the point where they're able to create such bodies on Earth?
No, I don't think so. I think Jesus' second coming will be, right on time. Everything will be done on God's time clock. So, the same way He shut down the Tower of Babel back in Noah's day, is the same way. It just is all just a Tower of Babel all over again. That's all I said. Man wanting to be God, and that's what the Tower of Babel was all about. Wanting to go up there and reach God and be God. So it's the same thing, same plan Satan had back then as what he's using now. And I think that God will come down and squash all this before they can get to a certain point, just like He did then.
Jeremy Thomas says hydrogel is a DARPA creation nanotechnology, which would make sense because it would have to be small. I already think there's a lot of nanotechnology just in the air from the spray of chemicals, also in our food. When you look
smart dust. Yeah. Smart dust. Another thing. It's called smart dust. That's something called.
When you look at things like Morgellons and Lyme disease, stuff like that, I think that's some of the beginning of that nanotech that didn't quite work yet because it just seemed to malfunction in people because it just would create this itching, annoying feeling and then grow like some polymers and through some people's actual skin sometimes.
Yeah, I had a friend that had that, and she would say how she said she went into a lake one day because she never had it, and then one day she went swimming in the lake and came out and stuff was crawling, like she felt stuff crawling in the skin and stuff was coming out of her arms. And, she said she could see like little white worms coming out. And went to all these different doctors and all that. Nobody could diagnose what it was. So I don't know how she fared with that. I mean, I still talk to her now and then, but she doesn't really talk about it. I guess she's over it, whatever it was. But it's pretty weird stuff.
I think that most people can seem to fight it off with their own immune system. It seems like, or we'd all have some type of Morgellons, I think. So for some reason, it functions or malfunctions in some people, and for other people, it doesn't. And I have seen enough pictures to believe that it does. It's polymers that grow. It's like plastic, basically. And I'm not saying they can't move by themselves or they can. I'm not sure. But you can see them in people's skin. There's apparently when it gets in their hair is a certain type of difficulty to brush because it rats so much. There's so much, it just splits off hair so much more. And the funny thing is doctors should know about it because you can go to the CDC and look up Morgellons and it has a description for it.
Yeah,
so even the CDC.
I think some of them did do that, but I guess they couldn't believe it. A lot of doctors didn't want to believe what it was, and she was telling them what it was.
Well, I wasn't taught. I came from the medical profession, and there was no time that they said, "Oh, and here's they teach about lots and lots of diseases. There's tons of infectious disease stuff that you learn, and that was not one of them." And for me to go to the CDC and find that they have a description of it, I'm like, well, that's interesting because nobody's ever heard of it, and we weren't taught it in medical school. NPC, the miniature antenna colonies. Well, yeah, that's I think what they were intended to be, was to make us superconductors, because that's kind of one of the other points I get to with the third strand DNA, is to make it so that we're able to be utilized, like in the movie Cowboys and Aliens, where they look in this thing and it clouds over their minds, and then they're just like this, and they're completely 100% controlled. Well, you can't do that when we still have our God-given DNA, because you see that, like with these celebrities, when they have to go back into rehab, I think what's happening is they're going back in for reprogramming, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely going back, and you send in Dr. Phil, you know what I mean, to do the reprogramming.
Right. So their conscious is coming out, kind of like what the movie Get Out, where the guy goes to the sunken place because that's where he's put, so that they can transmutate someone else's brain and literally into his body. But it's basically it's explaining the transmutation process of demonic possession too, that they've got to put your conscious way, way, way down. Well, if they can get you to a point where they don't have to push your conscience down because it's no longer there, because your God-given conscience is in your DNA, when they mess up your DNA enough. So that's why I think currently we're not dealing with the mark of the beast with this jab.
Nope.
Yeah, tell me what you think.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think I think it's a precursor to the mark. I think it's getting people used to doing, first of all, following what the scientists say and what the experts say. Second of all, it's getting people used to having something inside of them that's going to save them. And then third, it's not the mark, because the beast isn't here. He's here, but he's not unveiled yet, in my opinion. So how can you have a mark of the beast without the beast being here? So no, I don't think it's the mark, but I definitely believe it's a precursor to it.
Like you said, getting people used to some of these things. When I was sitting at the dinner table with my mom one day, when I was doing some of this research in the past, I was thinking, what would be a reason that people would just rush to get a jab? Not just think they need it to help them, but that they would want it really badly. And I was like, man, a cure for cancer. And that's where it started. I'm not saying there's not already a cure. We know that there's already a cure. But I was like, what would make people just rush for something like this? And imagine if one of your children or a sibling or a parent or a loved one, any loved one in your marriage or something, if that person got a deadly cancer, I'm not even just talking about yourself. It's almost easy for yourself to go, it's all right, I'm going to die from it. I think that's an easier decision for people than when it's their own loved ones, though. So like you get a loved one that gets a deadly cancer, and they're saying, we've got the cure. In this jab, it'll cure that cancer as soon as you give it to it. How hard would it be not to accept that and give it to your loved one?
It'd be real easy. It'd be real easy for people to accept that and do that. The only problem is how do you get that person to accept it? The person that doesn't have the cancer.
Well, if it's a child.
Right, but I'm saying you might get the sick person. You might want to do it for the sick person, but for the well person, you have to get them to take it too. You know what I'm saying? So this whole
right.
You see what I'm saying? So in order for this to work, everybody has to be in danger. Everybody. And that's why they're saying there's no symptoms, or you can have symptoms and not know it. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand how people can't just peel this apart and see how this whole thing is breaking down. But how can you not have symptoms? How can you be sick and not have any symptoms at all? Nothing. But you can still spread something that you don't have any symptoms of. And to me, it doesn't make sense. So they have to put that fear into everybody to say, look, this is what's going to happen, and if you don't have the snake bite or the sticker, or whatever they're going to call it, you're in danger of spreading this to other people, and let alone getting it yourself. And like I said, I put on Facebook the other day, Joe Biden is really pushing this vaccine. We all know that. And he said in one of his interviews, he said, if you get the vaccine, you won't die. That's the exact same thing Satan said to Eve in the Garden of Eden. If you eat this fruit, you shall not surely die. It's the same fruit.
Right. And somebody said in the chat, the 5G and 6G low frequency waves to control the nanotech. That's what will ultimately this is why you need the third strand. This is why you need a whole nother strand. It's not just CRISPR, it's not just editing. This is why you need a whole nother strand, because you can't, God's bigger than this no matter what, but from what they think, they believe, just editing some of that DNA isn't going to be enough. They're going to have to completely overtake it. And what you said is right, but I think also my conclusion in that video was it won't just be to cure cancer, it'll be to cure anything, but also you'll get superpowers. That's how they'll get everybody on board, right? That's how they'll get everybody, is they'll say, you can climb walls. You ever wanted to climb walls? Okay, so you look at the character. I always bring this up, and so if you're a regular listener, you'll get kind of sick of me hearing it, but a good example is Venom. The original character had cancer. Venom cured it. The guy had to agree to let Venom in to his body. That had to be an agreement, right? So what is Venom? A black goo, a programmable matter. That's what the third strand DNA is going to be like. It's going to give superpowers. Which ones? I don't know. Whatever. You could probably get the version that you want, right? I want to climb walls like Spider-Man. I want to fly. I want to have, shoot lasers. Whatever. I just want to have these superpowers, which is why we have these superhero movies, and also who are based on demigods and gods of the real world. And so anyway, that third strand DNA is required, because then they're going to put it down with a very high conductive thing like gold, or what I was saying, monoatomic gold, because it's like 40,000 times more conductive. What does that do for somebody? That makes them a superconductor. That means that they can be controlled from far away without needing to be plugged in, right? So that's when you get the clouded over eyes, and now you're 100% programmable. And so you think you're going to get the superpowers, and you probably will, but you're not going to be yourself anymore when you have them.
So what do you think about the quantum dot computers and all that, getting all the information? I think that's all part of what you're saying, gathering information from us so they can have, like in that movie, and all the information about us so they can make us an avatar. You see what I'm saying? So every time we go on Facebook or anywhere, anything that we search on one site is going to be on another site. You know what I'm saying? It's going to pop up. Like, you look for beds, and you on Facebook there's going to be beds, and then over here on YouTube is going to be a bed advertisement. So they're gathering all this information about you, storing it into these D-Wave gig computers, and using that to create an avatar so that they can upload us into, like you said, into another us. The whole Build Back Better thing is not just about building, tearing down a system and rebuilding. It's also rebuilding us. It's tearing down us and rebuilding us, because we aren't good enough according to them.
Yeah. There was something I was thinking about, and so like in this movie in particular, I was saying I didn't know if it was voluntary or were these test subjects. According to the synopsis, I think it said they were test subjects, and so it probably wasn't voluntary that they got uploaded and had this avatar created for them to. And from what I understood, the reasons they were killing is because they were in pain and angry. So it's not like there was some kind of level of consciousness not there anymore. So it's not like they were themselves going out and being like, I don't want to do this. They were set up to be in such a state that they would want to hurt
people.
Yeah, and kill. But when they're in these cells, they're crying out like they're in pain.
Right.
And it's probably because they've still got their nervous systems activated, and they could easily just do anything to irritate any of the, how it has to have nerve pain. You've had nerve pain of some kind or another in your life. Imagine, if you had it all constantly all the time. Again, another reason you'd cry out for death, and death would flee from you because you can't get away from that pain. Here you are, stuck, uploaded in some kind of way, never able to escape. And so again, whether it's voluntary or not sure, right? We don't know. But I think in the future, some of it will be voluntary, because I think people are already like, technology, I could upload and then they could download me to a new body, right?
Yeah. In a heartbeat, people jump in. I had a conversation with a friend of mine on Messenger. She was talking about the Neuralink thing that, what's his name? What's his name got out? What's his name? Tesla dude, the Tesla dude, yeah,
Elon Musk,
whatever.
yeah.
Elon Musk, yeah. She was saying how he got this Neuralink thing that's going to be put into the back of the head to connect you to the hive mind. I can see something like that happen. I just can't see people voluntarily getting scalp surgery. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be an easier way for them to implement this. I don't think anybody's going to want to sit down and, even if it's a 10-minute, 15-minute thing, it's still opening up your scalp and putting it into the brain. I can't see it. And then what? Then it's like, got to heal over and all that. I can see something more of like the quantum dot tattoo that they have, where they want to, it's like a tattoo, and it's these little tiny quantum dot needles with whatever they want in it. And you can do it at home on your own, or you can go to the doctor and just rub this little thing on your arm, and it injects whatever it has to inject into you, and you don't even feel these little quantum dot needles, and you pull it off, and then you have everything that they want in you, inside of you, and it didn't hurt you, and it's non-intrusive, non-invasive, where a skull implant is a little bit intrusive. I can't see people lining up that, but I can see them getting a patch and just rubbing it on their hand. I mean, we've been doing that forever with these little fake tattoos that they have. We've already been doing that, so I can see more of something like that than an actual scan or graft into the brain.
Yeah, well, they put the scary stuff out there so that it's not so scary later. That's why I've been telling people, like in a video I made, this is how I tell people things a lot, because my own real life friends don't want to hear any of this stuff. So when I tell people, it's in a video that I made, that it's not going to be as scary as things like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's not going to be like the Blob. It's not going to be like the Brain Eaters, where everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's come down from above and it's got us. Instead, we're going to accept it, and we're going to take part in it. One thing I was going to say, when you were saying they're gathering your information, there is some things you can do about that. You can go, for now, you can scrub your information off the internet as much as possible. So I would go look up the 5 most commonly used, like, find people websites, and then you just type in opt out of, like, white pages, or opt out of my life, opt out. Just type that in your search, and you opt out of these things. You either have to click something, fill out a form, sometimes you have to email them, and I've even had to call. But I've done this enough to the point that as many of you know, because you've been listening, when the police were called on me a few years ago by a malicious listener, the police could not find me. They could not find any known address for me, any updated address. They were able to find where my kids went to school, but the school would not give my address. It took them most of the day. They were looking for me from morning till 2 in the afternoon. They finally got my address because my parents gave it to them. That's the only way they found it. And so these things are gathering all your information, like your last known address, your last known phone numbers, your last known and you can get that taken down. That's not actually legal what they're doing, but they're getting it from places like Facebook. So every time you say, I like this band, I like this movie, these movies, like, you're right, I stopped doing that with, in fact, on my new Facebook, it's not even my real name, but I stopped. I used to think I was fun. I'm going to collect all my siblings. This is my sibling, this is my sibling, this is my sibling, this is my dad. That information is all being sold to these, like, find people websites where people can buy and get, like, literal background checks on you if they want to. You can have that taken down. You don't have to have that out there. So I just wanted to mention that. Anything you want to say based on that or totally different? Go ahead.
Well, I think it's important that you do something like that. I need to actually look into doing that. I'm like, whatever, just come get me out. We're gonna fight. That's the way I see it. but yeah, this is definitely something to look into, to think about. Getting rid of the information. So it makes it a little bit harder for them to find you, because not everybody wants to be found. Not everybody's going to just be like, come on, let's go, let's square off and let's do what we gotta do. Some people just don't want to have to deal with stuff. And we shouldn't have to deal with it. Like you said, it's against the law, and we shouldn't have to be worried about our information being sold to a third party, second party, or whoever. We should be able to put our stuff out if we want, and it be safe right where it's at.
But it's also, like you said, they're collecting it for your avatar in the future, right? So it's another, I think, a way for now to stop some of that collection. Jeremy says we need to check out Dr. Pierre Gilbert in 1995. What he had to say about liquid crystals or hydrogels turning people into zombies. Yeah, that's not surprising. Nothing new under the sun, right?
Nothing new under the sun. There's also, I cannot remember this guy's name, but he worked for the CIA. He had some videos on YouTube, actually, when he exposed a lot of stuff that they were doing. as far as the hive mind and connecting us to the supercomputers with the 5G and all that stuff. This is all real stuff that's happening. There's a reason why we were locked down last year. It wasn't for our safety. It was so they can put up all these poles and all this stuff in there. The 5G doesn't travel far, so it's like you'll see one every pole or something like that, because you will be the conductor, like you were saying. You will be the internet, and it all ties in also with the universal basic income, where they're going to be paying you to do nothing, which they're doing right now. They're getting people used to that, and so your job will be to do what they say, you know. And if you don't do what they say, cut your income through the hive mind. You remember the hive mind mentality. That's what this is all about, is everybody being one, as one hive. And I don't know how much you guys out there, I'm sure y'all know, because you all are pretty awake people. But the hive mind mentality is a big, look up the hive mind. It's really big, a real big part of the program.
Yeah, like a bee, like a
yeah,
or
that's
ants.
The queen, and the worker bees, and they all working towards one goal. And that's the same. That's pretty much how we're headed.
The best way to do that is not with trauma-based MK Ultra mind control, but actual, like you said, the superconductor thing and the 5G. And a lot of movies reinforce that. This was just one of them. We weren't really going to do a whole breakdown of this movie, because it's almost just the only thing that this movie really tells you is that you get to the very end, and it shows that these people have literally been uploaded, and they've got this, like you said, avatar body out there that's now a weapon. And the point being, ultimately, that people are going to choose that. People, and if they don't, then it potentially be forced on them. I think, though, like you said, it may not get to that. It may not get to that point because that's what they want, but that will create the time where the actual mark, and I think that will be the full on mark, is when you finally, when you accept it, you lose any understanding of who you ever were. That's just totally gone. And
you're no longer in God's image.
I don't see that happening to anyone yet with this particular jab. Just a trial run.
Right, it's just a trial run, get people used to it. But like you were saying, once the mark is here, you cannot be redeemed by God. God will not redeem you because you're no longer in His image. We're all created in God's image. So once you mess with the DNA, then you're not in His image anymore, because He didn't make that. Man made that.
It would seem that would be the plan all along since the garden, from what we understand. You know, it wasn't just a piece of fruit that was eaten, that there was a desire to alter the DNA, because we went from, I think our original bodies are what they're going to be again. We went from being these bodies, these light bodies that don't need to procreate, that don't have babies, to now having to birth children. Why would that be? Well, it sounds to me like there was a sexual encounter.
Right, and labor in the field and work and everything that we're doing came from that fall. And also, if you look at commercials on TV, they have everything on TV. Every commercial has the same aspects that Satan used in the garden: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. Those three things are in every advertisement, every single one, because that's how Satan got Eve to fall, with the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. It looked good, she wanted it, and it would give her godly powers. That's the lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, and pride of life. And every commercial you see will have something that looks good, something that you want, and something that you think is going to make you feel good.
And ultimately, you know, if it'll rescue you, save you, and cure your whatever ails you, and then you'll take it, you know, because I think you'll
take it.
This will offer cures to some of those autoimmune disorders that, to me, are probably caused in the first place by jabs. I think they were probably created by those jabs, because you see a lot of people who now have autoimmune diseases that didn't before. A lot more. I wouldn't necessarily say. I can't think of the word. I would say people are having a lot more intolerance to things, so they're not like actually allergic to things like gluten, but there's intolerance to it. At first I thought people were just being goofy, and I'm like, oh, they're not really, they're just this gluten-free kick. But I think there are people that are more intolerant to these things because of, look at all the poison that they spray wheat to dry it. They spray extra to dry it faster with the GMO Monsanto poison stuff. And what that stuff does also that they're seeing is it starts creating the improper building blocks for proteins in your body when you eat that food. And so now proteins are starting to build on a mutant building block in your bones and in your collagen. And so now we're seeing more knee injuries and shoulder injuries and fractures than we used to. And I had a fracture in the hip and the neck of my femur when I was 27 years old, and I was an athlete. That's really unusual. It's extremely unusual fracture for a person to get. More and more athletes are getting fractures and ligament damage that they wouldn't get. But I was listening to one woman who was studying horses and seeing it in horses. They were getting more and more horse injuries, and it was because of this horrible GMO Monsanto food that they feed them, and they're having to put down more horses every single year. And so we're also seeing it in athletes now. Anyway, so we're getting more and more injured, we're getting more and more autoimmune, we're getting more and more cancer, we're getting more and more autism, and then they're going to be like, this will cure it all. It'll cure it all, and on top of that, you can have superpowers, and you can live forever, right?
It's almost like the Matrix, how they uploaded everything into the back of the heads, and you can learn karate real quick, learn how to fly in a Apache helicopter. It's all the same thing. Who wouldn't jump for that? If given opportunity to say, look, you got to take this. First of all, if you don't take this, you can't go shopping. You can't do anything. So that's an incentive right there. You can't go do nothing. You're cut off from life. And then second, like you were saying, but if you do it, you'll get this, and this will happen. It's almost like they're setting it up when you hear Joe Biden say, if you get the vaccine, you won't die. So there's an alternative to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, get this vaccine, and you won't die. It was like that cut and dry. Like, there's no other way that you won't die unless you get this vaccine. You know what I'm saying? There's no other way I won't die. I'm going to have to die if I don't get the vaccine. It's nonsense. We have immune systems. We have, our own way of fighting off disease, which I don't believe this is one anyway. But I'm just saying, for him to say, if you don't get the vaccine, you're going to die, is the same thing that you're basically saying. Like, if you get the vaccine, you'll have superpowers. So there's a trade-off. Get this, and you'll get this. If you don't get this, you get this.
That's exactly right. I want to mention that Jeremy says, Satan has a short time, so why would he waste time and have a pre-trial run? The spike protein that the jab are shedding is helping change their DNA. Because this isn't, and you can disagree with me, and I know this is a place where we can healthily disagree and not get upset, but it is not doing what people think it's doing. In fact, I think that maybe only a few of these jabs have anything deadly in them at all. And I don't think anybody's shedding anything. Because I've been around plenty of, I know there's a lot of stories, guys, but we don't know who's starting those stories. Well, my friend of a friend of a friend's uncle said that he was around jab people, and it happened to him. And it's just like when it first started out, when nobody knew anybody that died from the COVID. Nobody knew anybody that had died from it. Nobody did. It was a cousin's uncle or something.
Some distant relative.
Then it started to be people that you knew because they were calling whatever they died from this. They were saying that's what it was. So it didn't matter what they actually died from. They were just calling it COVID. And so...
And they even said that. I can't remember what day it was. Somebody in Missouri or Wisconsin or whatever, one of the health officials said that no matter what you die from, they're going to label it as COVID. They come out and said, I didn't cut you off, but I was just wanted to input that.
Well, yeah, you can cut me off anytime. It doesn't matter. Also, just to speak to what NPC says, I speculate that it could uncap telomeres. I'm assuming you mean the jab, speeding up illness and death by elevating stress. But eventually, what it'll do is it stops telomeres from shortening. That's how you have eternal life. That's how cancer doesn't die, because it doesn't have telomeres that shorten. When your cells start to die, your telomeres are shortening over time. Every time a cell splits, those telomeres on the end, they shorten each time. They're just, I don't know how to explain it, but maybe like they're just long things on the end, and every time your cells split, they get shorter and shorter and shorter on the cells until the cells can no longer replicate because the telomeres are gone. So in order to have eternal life, you would have to be able to make that happen. Well, if they made it happen with cancer, that's why I say cancer is probably a mistake. That they were trying to create this eternal life by not shortening telomeres, by creating telomeres that don't shorten, but instead it created this thing that kills. But they didn't mind because they're like, well, we'll just unleash that on the masses anyway because we don't really care about them. And then NPC mentions that there have been superhero vaccines modeled after athletes, and China is experimenting with super soldiers. When I was in PA school, I was going to do my master's thesis on what they called gene doping, where they could give you a genetic ability to be a faster runner or a stronger bodybuilder. And so there was those were the two that only then that I knew of. There wasn't enough information to do my thesis on it because it was just so rare and so unheard of yet. But that's what they were doing, is they were taking out the RNA of a virus, right? They were taking a shell of a virus, putting in this DNA code, or maybe it was in an RNA fashion, I forget, and then they would put it in your body and it would insert into your genetics so that you could become a faster runner or a stronger bodybuilder. And my whole thing, I was going to say, well, how do we determine this? We're going to have to split people up by the gene doped people versus the non-gene doped people, just like they kind of do in competitions, like we're a steroid free competition, and we're a steroid competition because the two can't possibly compete. Because if you're going to have, I call it gene doping based on blood doping. I don't call it that. It was called that. So that's what it's based off of, called gene doping, like blood doping, creating this extra ability that you wouldn't have. So that just begins to show you that's the superpower. This is 20 some years. I graduated, no, not 15 years ago. I graduated as a PA. So this is something that even 15 years ago, again, nothing new under the sun. They've probably been doing it since
forever.
Since the garden.
Yeah. Look up, and you guys in the chat, if you want to, I would like you guys to do the same thing. Look up Henrietta Lacks. I don't know if you've heard of her, Henrietta Lacks.
Henrietta?
Or Gila. Yeah, Henrietta Lacks. Or Gila cells. HELACELLS. When this thing started, when they said that this thing was coming out, this is one of the things that I referred to. I'm sure somebody in the chat knows what I'm talking about. Henrietta Lacks. HeLa cells.
An immortal cell line used in scientific research. It is the oldest and most commonly used human cell line. Yes. Henrietta Lacks. There it is. Wikipedia.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know yet. This is new information for me.
Yeah. As you get a chance to dig into that, if my whole thought process when they were talking about this virus and how it lasts and all this stuff, that's what the first thing I looked at was, because I knew about her. So I was thinking that they would use her cells, because they still have them, that they would use her cells to keep the virus alive so it can stay spreading, because it's immortal. I think she's like the only one on Earth that has that stuff. And she's dead now, of course.
From cancer she died, right?
Yeah, from cancer.
It says the cells from Lack's cancerous cervical tumor were taken without her knowledge or consent, which was common practice at the time in 1951. They found that they could be kept alive and developed a cell line. Previously, cells cultured from other human cells would only survive a few days. Her tumor behaved differently. Well, of course it did, because tumor cells don't ever die. This must have been the first time that they knew about this or something.
Yeah, I think it was the first person that they found these type of cells in. But a lot of the virus work, how to treat viruses is done using her cells.
It says HeLa cells were the first human cells to be successfully cloned in 1953. Since that, they have been continually used for research into cancer and AIDS and all the other things that were created by man. Gene mapping. If I've heard of it, it's been a really long time. Oh, they talk about the telomerase. The HeLa cell line was derived for use in cancer research. These cells proliferate abnormally rapidly, even compared to other cancer cells. Like many other cancer cells, HeLa cells have an active version of telomerase during cell division, which copies telomeres over and over again. This prevents the incremental shortening of the telomeres that I just telling you about, that is implicated in aging and eventual cell death. In this way, the cells circumvent the Hayflick limit, which is a limited number of cell divisions that most normal cells can undergo before becoming senescent, and the result is unlimited cell division and immortality, right? That's what we just talked about.
Yep. Yep.
Creepy times, man.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of this stuff is, like we always say, and like the Bible says, as in the days of Noah. So in Noah's day, things like this were going on. Same type of things, with the gene manipulation, crossbreeding different animals and humans all together. And you can see symbols of that all throughout history, with the Egyptian hieroglyphics and all the different writings on walls and stuff like that. They had like half man, half goats and stuff like that, and birds with man heads, or men with birds' heads and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff, they drew what they saw. So this stuff has been going on since way back in Noah's day. And you can say, how can that be? They didn't have technology, they didn't have that. Well, they had the fallen angels who knew how to do all this stuff. They were there when we were born, when we were made. They know everything about us. So they knew how to go about, talking with us and getting us to do these things. And then they showed us things like in the book of Enoch. And in the book of Enoch, it says a lot of things about what the fallen angels did, how they, taught us witchcraft and jewelry and makeup and all that stuff like that. But so when you see, when people say how can that have happened back then, because they had help, and we have the same thing now. We have the same help now that we had back then. I don't want to call it help, but you get my drift. And there's a reason why God told Noah that he would send him the animals, because Noah didn't know which ones were messed with or weren't messed with. Noah had to wait at the door. He said, "We know where to wait, and he'll send them." And God knew which ones to send and which ones not to send.
Right. And also, just for fun, trivia, it was more than two on a lot of these animals. It wasn't just two animals of each breed. It was sometimes several couples. But
yeah, because he had to eat something. You know what I mean? So he ate some of them. That's how he survived. That's why it was like 10 unclean and two clean of each.
Hi, Duke. I'm glad you're here. Gospel Bearer says they could have also been crafting what they idolized in their imagination. Maybe those types of creatures existed, but folks have been crafting their idols since the fall. And you can comment on that, but I think that these things actually did exist because they were created by, like you said, the fallen angels gave them a reason to try to mix breeds. And what do we know about what happens, though, when they mix breeds? They become infertile.
Well, and look at, it's not like this is something that we're not doing now. We have spider goats. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Have you seen them? These are goats look up spider goats. These are goats that have mixed DNA of a spider. So what they do is they mix the DNA in the goat spider, they mix the DNA in the spider DNA, and when the goats produce milk, they strain the milk and get a webbing out of the milk. And the webbing is like a metal, and they weave it into bulletproof vests.
I'm talking and I was muted. I got it though. Genetically modified goats at a farm at a Utah State University, which produce large quantities of spider silk that is among the strongest substances known to man. The transplanted genes mean the goat produced milk containing an extra protein, which is extracted and spun into spider silk thread. It doesn't go on to say what you said though, because it's not really an article; it's a video that you said they do it for armor, right?
Yeah, they put it into some certain types of body armor. Yes.
And that's probably nothing. I don't mean nothing new as in nothing new under the sun. That's probably, here we go. This is from 2012. So this has been, I can't believe I haven't heard of this, but I haven't. That's okay. The Guardian talks about it in 2012.
I mean, there's plenty more examples of how we're doing what's happening in the days of Noah. There's plenty of that. I mean, you look up Plum Island. What they've been doing on Plum Island. Have you heard of Plum Island?
Spell that, please.
PLUM. I think it's PLUM or PLUMB Island. Let me see, make sure I'm straight on that. But because a lot of this stuff I researched like, I don't know, 10, 12, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff I forgot. A lot of stuff it's just, I'm like, oh, I remember that. You know, I'll come across something. I remember researching that way back then.
What am I looking for? What were they doing on Plum Island?
They were doing all kind of experiments on different animals. And they were finding mixed breed things like half human, half pigs on the beaches. And I think they ended up moving it to Kentucky. If I remember correctly, like I said, this has been a long time since I looked that up.
Yikes! Hold on. Yeah, it says lurk. Hold on. Let me share this link. Plum Island secret past. Oh, there's a tick and Lyme disease thing.
Yeah. I think a lot of German scientists were there messing around with the tick thing. I think they had something to do with Lyme disease being man-made.
Oh, totally was.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says 2008, a creature dubbed the Montauk Monster, I've heard of that, washed ashore at Ditch Plains Beach near the business district of Montauk, New York. The creature, a quadruped of indeterminate size, was dead and assumed by some to have come from Plum Island due to the currents and proximity to the mainland. Studied the photograph and concluded from visible dentition in the front paws that the creature may have been a raccoon. Okay. But it was...
wasn't it it's like white, right? And it's like, it has like a raccoon type look into it, but it's not, I don't think that's a raccoon. Does it look like a raccoon to you?
No, it does not look like a raccoon to me.
And I'm not even looking at the picture. I'm just going by memory when I researched this stuff. And it looks like some type of face. It has like a face on it.
Yeah, it looks like a pig face more than anything. So I don't know how they came up with, if that picture applies. Then there's something else kind of creepy. Looks like a weird little calf thing. I feel like I've read about this, but it's been a long time. Anyway, that'd be something to look into.
Did they move their facility to somewhere in the Midwest? If I'm remembering right.
Well, I'm not sure because I've got down to this. They're saying that in 2008 there was I see they don't really have pictures. They're saying something like a human body with elongated fingers pulled up on shore. They're saying another weird animal that looked like a dinosaur skull and matchstick-shaped fingers. Mm-hmm. They're saying in 2009 another corpse came ashore and it was identical with an elongated skull and the claw-like fingers. The carcass was quickly spirited away and anyone's knowledge was never examined. And just when you think the story couldn't get freakier, it did. Mutated human body had been found by workers on the island with very elongated fingers. Anyway, we can't prove any of this. It just says this just says it. We don't know, right? But
no, we don't know for sure. But
it's Island of Dr. Moreau stuff's probably been going on a long time.
Yeah, and if I recall, from all of the things that were being found, I think they shut down that facility and moved to somewhere in the Midwest. If I recall that.
Sorry if I was muted yet again, but you guys could see the article. All I was doing was reading some of that stuff that you could see on the article. I shared it. I was just reading, so you didn't miss anything except for what that article was saying. We don't know if it's we don't know if it's really.
We don't know how credible any of that is. I just know that it's there. So what I'm getting at is, I mean, some things. I don't know why you would even report that if it wasn't. I mean, it doesn't, unless it's some type of psyop. But who knows about it? It's not a good psyop because not too many people knew about it.
Well, here's the thing: is I would believe it'd be true because this kind of stuff has been going on. Island of Dr. Moreau is like an old story, and
Yeah.
I know that it's supposed to be. The truth is in entertainment, in movies, and in books and things like that. That's why we watch
Mm-hmm.
these movies because it tells a lot of truth. Not because it's the best
Yeah.
movie we ever saw and it's got great acting and oh my gosh, it's like my favorite actor. None of that stuff. It's more like this has just got a lot of information, and that's why I'll watch it. Because you had me watch one. Well, tell people about the one that you
Oh,
had me watch.
oh, that was await further instructions. Yeah, that came out in 2018, so that was before all this pandemic stuff. And that whole movie was about what we went through in 2019. The entire movie. It was about, and there's plenty other ones like Contagion. The movie Contagion tells you about social distancing. That came out in 2005 or something like that, and they were already using the term social distancing. We never heard that term before, but in that movie Contagion, they were saying it was 2005 or 2008, whatever it was. It was years ago before this stuff happened. So they're talking about social distancing in the movie Contagion. I'll get back to await further instructions in a minute. But in the movie Contagion, they talked about social distancing. You had to get a bracelet to show that you had the vaccine. They had to rush and get the vaccine done. Um, it was and people were quarantined. Here's the kicker: the disease and contagion came from a bat in China. So tell me how that's not predictive programming. Everything that we went through in 2019, everything they said it happened in that movie, and that was 10 years ago at least. But await further instructions was about in that movie there was quarantining, the black goo, um, vaccines, and people just following whatever the TV said. The TV was ended up telling. Let me just give a quick synopsis. The in that movie, something happened where people got locked in their houses. At the end of the movie, it tells you what happened, but they get locked in their houses, and all of a sudden the TV comes on, and it's just sitting there, and it starts typing letters like, "You have to do this." So people everybody in the house just went and did it, and it says, "Go over here and do this." So then people went over there and did it. Everybody in the house, and it would say, "You have to take this vaccine. You have to take this shot." And they were like looking around. All of a sudden, these needles come shooting out of this wall, and it just needles with no labels or nothing on it, and it says, "Take the shot so you can be safe." So they took the shot. It was some. I think the one guy was like, "Well, I'm not gonna." It was a nurse, wasn't it? A nurse, I think. She was saying, I think it was.
The
She was
pregnant
saying
gal.
the
Oh,
guy's
the
girlfriend.
girlfriend. She was
Yeah,
in the medical field somehow. I think you're right.
yeah, and I think she was saying something like, "I'm not taking that. We don't know what's in it." I remember that. And so then you had the anti-vax and the vax, but then, oh, dang, I keep in this thing. You had the, let me go down here. You had the anti-vax and the vax, and then she ends up doing it. And I think the grandfather died from the vaccine. Um, shoot, what else happened? Like you were saying, the whole thing was whatever the TV said to do, they just went and did it. And it was just crazy because it shows what we went through, and whatever them talking heads on TV say, people just go and do it. If Fauci says this, okay, we do that. Put 2 masks on. It's like Simon Says, man. I said that when it first came out. I was like, you guys are playing Simon Says with these guys. Fauci says this, okay. Fauci says that, okay. Fauci says do this, okay. And you just go and do it without even thinking, without taking any um, any thought into looking into what is he saying. Is that the right thing to do? Is that best for me? You just go ahead and do it. But Await Further Instructions is the name of the movie. If you guys want to check it out, it's on Netflix. So it was it was a pretty crazy movie. And at the end, it was cheesy. I'm not saying it was a good movie. It was cheesy, but it just shows everything like you're saying. Movies predict a lot of things. Even like I said, Contagion. There's just so many other movies that we can go into that we'll end up looking at and describing for people.
Just to reiterate, though, to people, we're not telling you should go watch these movies because we watch them and enjoy them. Well, we enjoy. To say enjoy is more like we're getting the message from it, and what we enjoy is seeing all the I have to admit it's fun when I'm like, oh, did you catch that? Did you see, like when they said Delta in the one movie? I'm like, there they go with Delta predictive programming. And maybe not, because they use that stuff for a lot of things. They use Greek terminologies for tons and tons of things, especially in the military. So I was just kind of trying to be funny, but at the same time, it could be some kind of predictive programming. And this one you just mentioned, to wait further instructions, the guy literally gets mad at the TV and he's like, quit listening to the TV, and he like tries to throw the TV, or he does unplug the TV or something, and then he gets in big trouble because he unplugs the TV. And it's really not scary. It didn't scare me at all. It's considered a horror, but like you said, it's kind of cheesy, so not scary. So if you happen to watch it, you'd probably be okay. Most people would probably do just fine watching it. But very very telling, like you said.
You came up with a good point. I mean, I think we were texting each other after you watched it, and you said, why would actors do a movie like this? You know, so you have to ask yourself, number one, why would actors do that movie like that? Well, we know because they want to get money. But why would somebody write that movie? Somebody had to write it. Somebody had to give them the idea to write it. So there's an agenda.
Very,
the whole thing.
Very similar story to Ghost in the Machine, or right? Is that the one where the
I don't know if I've watched that. I know
demons are coming through the electricity? So that's another thing. Is I've done a video before on the Black Mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Black Mirror. So that they're creating these now with organic layers. So like what's called OLED, organic LED, and they're doing it with TVs too. And that organic layer, I think, makes it easier for things to come through your black mirror. And then they make it curved, and then they make it 3D, so you start to not know what's real and what's not. Kind of like a VR without the VR headset. You get this like realistic kind of 3D thing going on. And then now and also not only is it a way because already horror movies are meant to be traumatic and to traumatize you. So there's also some of that control with an MK Ultra type of trauma-based mind control with horror movies and stuff like that. But then when you get the 3D stuff, it makes it seem real. Then you're going to enjoy it and be like, you won't need the horror movie to traumatize you, because you're going to willingly choose to step into this virtual reality that you don't need the headset for, which I think was a Black Mirror episode too, because Black Mirror has apparently like all the answers to what they're trying to do. But there was some like mirrored world you could go into and live in. I maybe it wasn't Black Mirror, maybe it was something different, but I don't know that I watched it. But it seemed like there was some mirrored world. But anyway, that's what they're creating, these big organic layered TVs, and you get the new iPhone, I think 10 and above, and they have the organic layer in it. And I can't remember which Samsungs and whatever have the organic. But anyway, anything that's brand new has the organic layer in it. And then also, Satan is not omnipresent, so it gives him a way to watch us all. I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yo, you just hit me up. You just made me remember something. It was a movie. I just pulled it up back in 1989 called Shocker. What you just said is this movie from 1989.
I'm going to ask NPC to drop that link for the Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, in our research group, please.
Yes. I watched that movie.
Tell us about it.
I mean, look, it was like, I can't remember all that. It was like, it was years ago I watched that movie. I was a big Final Fantasy fan, especially Final Fantasy VII when it was on PlayStation and all that. I mean, I actually almost cried when the girl died. Believe it or not, I almost got fired from my job playing that game. But so I know it was similar. It was very similar to Spectral, and it was very similar to that, because it was spirits, like disembodied spirits from. But I think it had something to do with Mother Earth or something like that. If I'm not, maybe NPC can check me on that. I believe it has something to do with Mother Earth and the spirits of the animals and the earth spirits and all that stuff. And they were doing the same type of thing, trying to kill them, and then it ended up that they were just, spirits just try to be nice or something. I don't know. It was pretty weird. So, like I said, I didn't really I don't remember all of it. I just remember that much of it. It's been a while.
I have it pulled up. It basically says Earth is infested by alien life forms known as phantoms. which is exactly what Venom was. He was an alien life form, but he came from an evil world, so obviously he was a demon. By physical contact, phantoms consume the Gaia spirit of living beings, killing them instantly, just like these creatures in Spectral, killing them instantly through a minor contact that may only result in an infection. The surviving humans live in barrier cities protected by energy shields that prevent phantoms from entering and are engaged in an ongoing struggle to free the planet. After being infected by a phantom during one of her experiences, this Dr. So-and-so and her mentor discover a means of defeating the phantoms by gathering 8 spirits. Unique energy... See, they want you to think you can save the world by using New Age. They use an energy wave to negate the phantom. So, frequencies. A God frequency. Oh, you know, NBC and I talked about the God frequency when we were watching... oh my gosh, Donnie Darko. Because in Donnie Darko, he has that thing that comes out from his body that he follows that shows him places to go, and or he sees it coming out of other people too. Like when his dad says he's going to go get a beer, the thing starts heading into the kitchen before he does. It's like a you have to watch the movie if you haven't seen it. But NPC and I did a very extensive discussion of Donnie Darko. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend that if you're going to watch a movie. I was talking about Donnie Darko. I was muted. I want you guys to know, I was saying, is this made me think of when NPC and I were talking about the God frequency, because it says there's a frequency that they get these phantoms with. Oh, so you did hear me. Okay, yeah, the God channel. Okay, good. I thought maybe I was muted the whole time. I think what happens, I know what happened. Oh, I know what happened. I figured it out. I figured out why it's muting me sometimes. When I change our screen, it automatically mutes me.
Okay.
So I wasn't muted the whole time. Yay. Anyway.
You know who did a great breakdown of Donnie Darko?
Who's that?
A guy named Theology Ed on YouTube. Theology Ed. He does some great work on iPeco too as well. So if you guys get a chance to, and Get Out and Us and I mean all the movies. This guy's on all of them.
Don't go to that guy for Get Out and Us.
Go
I did a breakdown.
Yeah, I gotta plug you too.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Go check out Aaron Moffat for all the other stuff. You know what I mean?
He probably did a good breakdown of Donnie Darko and Get Out and Us as well. And honestly, there's so much in these movies that one of the breakdowns I took from Us is probably very, very different. One of the takeaways I took from it is going to be different just from my personal research. Just my history and knowledge and things that I've done is just going to be different than it's going to be for that guy. So yes, you can check out whoever you want to that has done reviews on Get Out, that's done reviews on Us, and done Donnie Darko. But just know that all 3 of those movies have also been reviewed on my channel as well. Don't forget that.
Go to Aaron's channel first. I mean, you're already here, so you might as well do it. You're already here. So just you then you have to click up top there.
I think what you and I are going to try to do is more of this. Like we're going to pick movies and review them kind of on a regular basis for fun.
Yeah.
Like it's not because it's spreading some knowledge because you get some, like you were talking about Contagion and some of these other, lots of similar ones. We'll try to find ones that maybe aren't too totally similar from time to time and maybe a little bit more novel, but there's always something. Even like I was watching this movie Iron Sky, which was so cheesy, but man, it had everything in there that we've ever talked about. And I'm like, here it is, just in obvious real life that this is what they're doing, and this is what either they're making fun of conspiracy theorists or they're showing that it's true and making it a cheesy movie to act like they're making fun. But it had Agartha and Hollow Earth, and it had reptilians, and it had everything. I mean, I can't remember it all anymore because it's been a while, and I kind of blew it off after I lost my Discord servers where I had all the information. Timothy, there is not a Discord anymore. I will not send you the link later.
That's funny. That's a shame why somebody would do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I've lost so many that I've decided not to have any more.
He's watching you quote.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not making this believable at all. But yes, there is another research channel, and I will send you the link for that, and you can join, and it's a very good one. I think that I will email it to you, or probably just text it to you. So if anyone wants it, I've really got to know you personally before I will give this link away. I have to actually know you now, because we just don't know when people create new what do you call it? They create new accounts all the time, and they're able to create new accounts with just a different email, and you can make a new email or make up a new email anytime you want to. So yeah, been painful, but we're persevering.
That's right. Keep on moving.
Yeah, trolls to the highest extent. Okay, anything else that you want to say on this particular movie, or any movies like it, or something scripturally that you wanted to talk about? Because if not, I have something else we'll talk about for just a minute.
No, we can go with you.
Okay, I think that means it's back to me.
Yes.
Okay, so this is different than what we've been talking about completely, although not, because we had a good conversation about it yesterday, where we were talking about the mark and people thinking cryptocurrency would be that. And I want you to say why you don't think, or what you think about cryptocurrency related to the mark or anything like that.
Well, I don't think it's. I think eventually it can be related to the mark, but right now it's a tool for us to use. God gives us everything for us to use. You know, these things can be used for good. And I've joined your company, and I made money doing that. You know, and what I do is I'm gonna use that, whatever money I make off of that. That's gonna be used down the line when I can't work. You know, let's say I can't work anymore, and my job says you gotta get the shot. You know what I mean? Or one of my companies, because like when this stuff started happening, I have a cleaning business, and I lost mad buildings because they shut down because of this. You know, so I had to go get a regular job. I'm not used to that. I've been on my own, making my own money with my own businesses for years, and I saved a lot of money, so that kept me alive. But you know, I ran into some other circumstances. Me and you talked about that before, and that's personal stuff. But and maybe another show or whatever, or my own show, I'll do something like that. But bottom line is, I had to start thinking like what else could I do in case something happens to my job. And I told my son the same thing. He's going to come over and join up with us today. But you know, it's just like, what else can I do to have some type of security if I lose my job because of not having the snake bite? So this is a one way for me to ensure that I'll have something rather than nothing. Can it be part of the market beast? Of course it's going to be. This is years from now. It's going to be, I believe it will become part of it. But that doesn't mean that we can't use it now for what we have to do. Like there's knives. We have knives in our kitchen, and God gave us the ability to create a knife. But it's what we do with the knife that counts. Do I go out and stab somebody with the knife, or do I cut my bread? You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with the crypto, in my opinion. This is something that God has put in place. Everything is allowed by God, and we can use it for our own use until will be a point where it is part of it. I believe that. But as of right now, I don't see any reason why anybody shouldn't get into World Crypto Life. It's a good company. It's honest. It's open. I've been to numerous of these seminars, or what do you think? Zoom meetings, whatever. How many have I been to? Like 4, maybe. What do you think?
Of my presentations?
Yeah.
I would say 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been to those, and I watched them. Those that you didn't do the presentation. The other guy, the bald head dude. You know what I mean? So I watched them with his too. But I mean, it's a good investment if you have the means to do it. Even for as little as $100, you can jump in on that and have some type of security, knowing that you'll have something if everything goes down. If the grid goes down, whatever, you still have something.
Yeah. So again, it's a technology that may be utilized by the government in the future, but what are we already using that
Right.
we have to use that's clearly very evil, which is the dollar. And the dollar is something that we have to use in our banks and our debit cards. And another thing people say is they go, well, if the grid goes down, I can't get to my crypto. But if the grid goes down, you can't get to your bank account either. You're not going to get into your bank. The digital dollars that are in there, they're not going to be there for you anymore. They're going to, if it's an EMP, your car's not even going to drive. So we're going to have a lot more problems other than that. So it's like you said, it's something we can utilize now. And it's something that we can make work for us so that we can get more dollars to use it for other things. So like I paid for the school bus, as you guys know. I paid for my kids' school. There's other people that one guy bought a Jaguar with what he's doing with this crypto. So it's kind of a no-brainer on the crypto. It's if somebody is worried about it or thinks it's the mark, then we don't want to push you into getting involved in it. But it's just like a gun, right? Learning how to use one. Or just like these big tools I was telling you I was using on the bus. They'd make me really nervous until I got used to them and was using them on a regular basis. And then I was just like, no big deal. It's just like a gun. If you learn a gun, you know how to load it, unload it, and shoot it, then you're no longer nervous with the gun. This is something you just learn about. You just need to learn about, get used to it, understand it, and then you're not going to be nervous about it because we already push blockchain technology for websites. So why push blockchain on one aspect and not another? I'm saying we can utilize it to help us for many, many reasons, and not everybody that makes it has got some agenda or some elitist. So for instance, the group that owns our crypto is out of California, but it's just two guys, one that helped build the IM exchange and one that created the coin side of the marketing side of it. So one guy did the coin and the IM exchange because that's where he understands, and the other guy does the marketing side of it. And then the two businesses are together, and they registered it out of Wyoming, which tells you that they want to be legit because they're not only in the U.S. but they're out of Wyoming. Thousands and tens of thousands of coins are out there. You don't know what to buy, but most of them are not out of even the U.S., let alone Wyoming. So anyway, we wanted to throw that out there because I wanted you guys to know that Ninja is on board with the crypto. He's gotten involved with me, and so he's seen it. We haven't stolen his money yet, and he hasn't lost his crypto yet, right?
No, I'm still good to go. And like you were saying, it is definitely an investment for the future. When you look at what's going on around the world, and eventually, some of us aren't going to be able to work. So what are you going to do for money while you can still do something for money? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you can't work, then what are you doing? So why not invest some money into something that that you can have down the line in case something goes wrong?
And I say if you're going to invest, throw in more than $100 if you can, because it's going to increase your purchasing power much better. So if let's say you triple your money, that's great if you tripled your money in 6 months to $300. However, I'd like to see you triple 10 grand if you can afford it. If you can afford 10 grand, wouldn't you rather triple that? If you can't, don't worry, the company will pay you if you refer your friends, and they'll pay you very well. I wanted to say, NPC says, are there any raffles going on? Currently not, because I don't have a place to do the raffles right now. I don't know if our research group is, some of why we might have troubles is because of the raffles. That could be why. I'm not totally sure. I've asked people if they want me to do one, and I didn't get any response. So I guess we'll just kind of wait it out. I can post that on YouTube community channel. So let me show people what the YouTube community channel looks like, because people tend to not remember what that looks like. So what you do is you go to my channel, which is my page, Aaron Moffett, and you'd see that all this stuff is going on here. You see that there's live stuff. You see that there's the Solomon report that Ninja Scroll and I talked about, the Rapture. I talked about Goldbacks, all that stuff. You see that. But up here it says videos, playlists, community, channels, and about. Community is what you would click. And obviously Duke got in, Doc Michael got in, Brenda got into the crypto, just seeing the chat. A lot of people that are here have done that. Anyway, you can see my cool axe that somebody told me is not an axe. My sweet gun that I did finally get, my Desert Eagle. Anyway, this is a place. This is a place I can post these things, but you have to make an effort of going and checking it, because I don't think anyone gets any kind of notification about posts on the community. Like, they might get a notification about a video on a good day, but nobody gets notifications about the community. So that's something we can think about or try as far as raffles go. But other than that, we're going to pick another movie to watch, and we might do this frequently, or we could do this once a week. We might do it twice a week, or we might just talk about something else entirely. We might do a Bible study and find that that's interesting things that we want to share. So I think we're going to kind of regularly start doing this at least once a week, so that now you and I can have a regular show, and NPC and I can have a regular show, because I realize that I know you guys love me, but when I go live by myself, I'm not very good at it, so I don't get a lot of viewers. Kind of true. So, yeah. Anyway, hit the like if you have not hit the like. Share it with your friends if you liked it, and if you hated it or you're the troll, please share it with your enemies. And anything else you want to say before we hit the road for the day?
Just that I enjoy doing the shows with you. I know we have a really good way of conversing with each other. It really feels good to have friends like all of you out here that we can fellowship with, and like-minded people, and not be looked at funny and weird. So I really appreciate all you guys, and I appreciate you, Aaron, for having me on, and I'm looking forward to more shows in the future.
Yeah, and I'm grateful too, and that's why the community is about. That's why when we had Discord going like we did, that's what it was for, was to bring people together, similar like-minded things that we could talk about and be able to share that stuff, even though Discord is hard because obviously I think it's owned by Google or whatever, and we've been shut down so many times. But we can still do that because we can share our phone numbers, or we can share P.O. box address. If you don't want to share your real address, we can send snail mail, that kind of stuff. So let's keep in touch and keep networking. And with that, I'll let you go on with your day. I'm going to go pick up my girls and go to swimming practice. Well, I'm not swimming. My daughter is, but I'm going to take her. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, and everybody else, I'll see you in the research group or on the Facebooks or wherever I see you. So
Go.
Peace and good night. Bye.
Peace, y'all. Thank you.
So busy talking all my life, it's so hard to hear you speak. So tired of falling like I'm blind, but I think that now I see. I need you more than I could ever recognize. Don't pass me by. No, no, I miss your company. Jesus, hear my plea. Don't pass me by. No, no. Seems like I've seen it all by now. Everything that shines soon fades. Capture my thinking when I bow, like a substitute could save. I need you more than I could ever recognize. Don't pass me by. No, no, I miss your company. Jesus, hear my plea. Don't pass me by.